Welcome back to the channel. We are out here on an awesomely moody day in the Pacific Northwest to check out the Mondraker Zendit. This is one of my longer term reviews with the Avinox MS2 motor, and I gotta say it's been pretty great so far. In today's video, we're gonna cover more on the MS2 motor. We're gonna cover exactly how this bike descends, climbs. We'll dive a bit into all the features and functions of it, and then we'll rank it in the Loam Library. Now let's get into it. So what is the Zendit? It's a 165, 170 full power enduro machine based around Mondraker's zero suspension system. It's designed from the ground up for the Avinox M2S drive system and an 800 watt-hour battery. It has mixed wheels, and this is the RR build with a new Fox 38 and SRAM Maven base brakes. To me, this build is everything you need and no fluff. I'll dive a bit deeper into the frame suspension as we go, but for now, let's get into the riding. Let's get into the fun stuff. How does this new Mondraker Zendit get down the hill? Well, looks like we're on the jumps already. A couple things come to mind immediately, and that is balance and momentum. It's a similar issue to how I felt with the last Avinox bike I had, but you feel that extra weight up top, and it requires a fair bit of effort to get the bike airborne. It is more balanced, but still could be better. So a little more about jumping. That momentum that I talked about, it just means you always need to go faster than you think. On a bike that gives you so much speed, it's kind of crazy. But because you have to pull harder to jump higher, and I think it's the weight, it just, if your jumps aren't that steep, you need a little extra effort. While I've got you, please subscribe. And Jensen USA already has the Zendit in stock if you want to pick up one now. Getting into the steeps, this is another place that this bike really shines. It's got a nice high front end, a very confident feeling stance, and that suspension stays extremely active. It also has plenty of travel for when you reach the end. So momentum and weight, however you want to look at it, there's a noticeable effect on trails as they get steeper or flatten out. For most of my riding, e-bike or not, I found right around 40 pounds to be a sweet spot, where the bike feels like it's generating speed with very little effort. And it's still manageable when things get really steep. We have a lot of steep trails, and right up until about 50 pounds, these bikes still feel pretty manageable. These SRAM Maven base brakes do an amazing job on this bike and keep its nearly 52 pounds in control on steep trails. Brand new raw trail. It'll be great once it gets more ridden in. Definitely. But this much weight decelerates noticeably on these jump trails and when things mellow out. I needed to go faster and pull harder. Whenever I got complacent, I found myself casing. There's a noticeable difference between the 48-pound Bullet and this 52-ish pound Zendit. High speed and chunk, so that's an area that is very good. And this bike almost sets the benchmark. I still think the LT did slightly better, and it's mainly a thing of where you're braking at high speeds and the bike seems to not regate its travel quick enough. I had to turn up the high speed. I had to turn up the rebound to compensate for that. It was just a little weird. So yeah, to get the most out of the suspension, the Zendit wants you to go fast. It rewards a more off-the-back style of riding. This is really one of those bikes that rewards speed, not just with stability, but also with a smoother ride. Last in the corner, similar to what I said about high speed, the Zendit can strafe a sweeping corner with the best of them. Traction feels good when you're pushing it, but stands up a bit if you hesitate. It's not necessarily quick about the trail, and may feel like a bit much if you're not hitting the gym on the regular. But again, it's more balanced front to back, which helps in the corners. When it comes down to it, this is a big bike that likes big terrain. I often say, if you have all the power, why not have all the capability? This bike has all the capability and more. That though can mean it feels like you need to push it a bit more. A quick overview of the motor in case this is your introduction. This motor is pushing 130 Newton meters of torque and provides up to 800% assistance. It'll even get 150 Newton meters in boost mode and 1300 watts of peak power. That's nuts, and sometimes doesn't even feel like a bicycle. I'm about 170 pounds, and with the 800 watt hour battery, could easily get over 5,000 feet of elevation gain. So how does this Mondraker Zendit get up the hill? Well, that's an easy one. It likes to send it. Up the hill, down the hill, it's happy. But when we're talking about body position, really good body position, very comfy. It does have a rather wide bar, so I feel a little bit tight around some switchbacks. I'm definitely hitting my knees. But overall, very comfy for a long climb. And how active the suspension is, where you're weighted, is really good for technical climbing. This is definitely one of those bikes where you can climb up some pretty gnarly, steep and loose stuff fast. It also doesn't seem, I'd have to compare it to the Pivot I rode, but it feels like it's got a longer back end, which gives you better traction and doesn't have you lifting the front wheel as often. So overall, yeah, great body position, crazy amounts of traction. Efficiency wise, it definitely leans more towards traction than efficiency, but as we've talked before about this on other e-bikes, that doesn't totally matter. You're limited by traction, not by efficiency. So yeah, last in a switchback, again, really well weighted, really centered, but it is a long bike, and maybe it's these wide handlebars, but it feels a bit cramped and like you are hitting your knees on the bars. If it was my own bike, I'd easily cut them down. I'm not sure where they're at, but I'll take a measurement. But yeah, overall, that's how the Mondraker Zendit gets up the hill. When people talk about these motor outputs, I get it. I understand the concerns, and I hope riders are respectful, courteous, and smart. Putting that to the side, climbing fire roads, flat or steep, the Avinox motor keeps you bouncing off that 20 mile/hour limit. Even on this steep and loose section, I'm still maintaining over 15 miles/hour. The suspension really complements the power of the motor. You get the bike going and it just claws up the trail so fast. I would say it's not too much power, it's just slower. It is true on single track, you're using your brakes to climb, and unless it's pretty straight, you're not going to get up to full speed, but it certainly keeps pulling. Racing friends on the Bosch system, single track was the great equalizer. I think I only had the edge because of my time with the bike, and even then, friends weren't far off the back. If you're climbing single track, it's still fast, but if you're shuttling roads, this could cut your time in half. Let's check it out in the Loam Library. A 38 puts it here, and it may be my favorite Avinox bike so far. I'm still hoping to try out something with a 600 or 700 watt hour battery. The build is another highlight. As I said at the beginning, it's everything you need and nothing you don't. So what's my verdict, final thoughts, and who's this bike for? I'm really excited to see the Avinox motor on more brands. It's not the motor that makes the bike good, and a great chassis is the most important part. Mondraker did a great job. This bike has been through the ringer as part of the Mondraker US demo fleet. It's still surprisingly quiet and doesn't seem to have any glaring issues. Because of how quiet this bike was, I really noticed more motor clunks when I was casing those jumps. It wasn't louder than, say, the Bosch CX, But where the pivot sounded hollow around the battery and the amflow had a fair bit of creaks, this bike was mostly silent, so the motor stood out. More on the design, the hidden bolts up here could be a pain point. And overall the design, while sleek at the battery, looks chunky, heavy, and dare I say, a bit ugly. But beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but also up to the angle. When it comes to things I actually didn't like, the seat post feels lower quality and spongy. I noticed the flex of the bar more than I would like, and it was just a tad unnerving. So then who's this bike for? Well, I think it's for the rider who's going to want to ride some pretty serious terrain. And it's not going to be for everyone. It's for the rider that really wants to push things up and down. I don't want to say it was the hardest to jump, but it was less intuitive. The Zendit loved steep trails and encouraged speed. It wanted you to brake late and commit. If you have the terrain or mindset, it's a bike that will allow you to find a new limit. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell. This season is shaping up to be the best yet. There are still more bikes on the way. Follow along to see what's next. New videos drop weekly. If you need anything for yourself or your ride, don't forget to check out my channel partners, Jensen USA, Evil Bikes, Hunt Wheels, and more. It's a great way for you to support at no cost and illustrates the value of this channel to the brands you're looking for. Now get out there, go fast, and take chances. See you next week.